You think you're just watching a video, but this is a divine appointment. What if I told you that the very thing you thought would destroy you, the betrayal that shattered your trust, the loss that broke your heart, the failure that stole your confidence, wasn't the end of your story at all? What if I told you that heaven has already stepped in, taken the pen from the enemy's hand, and begun rewriting the pages of your life? You see, what was meant to bury you is about to build you. What was meant to silence you is about to give you a voice. And the chapter you're living right now, no matter how painful, is not the final chapter. Something greater is already being written, and when it's revealed, it will shock everyone who thought your story was over. There comes a time in every life when the weight of circumstances feels unbearable, when the cracks in the foundation seem too deep to repair, when the betrayal is too sharp, when the loss is too heavy, and when the silence of God feels louder than His promises. Everyone, at some point, faces a breaking point. These are the moments we look back on and say, "That was the day everything changed. That was the day I thought it was over." The truth is, many of us were never prepared for the kind of storms that have already come our way. We thought the path would be smoother, the people around us would be more loyal, the finances would remain stable, or that our strength would always hold. And yet, life rarely moves in straight lines. Often, the paths we walk are twisted, full of valleys and sudden cliffs. And those valleys, the moments where we feel broken beyond recognition, are where God does His most mysterious work. We have been taught to fear breaking. We equate it with failure, weakness, and defeat. But God sees breaking differently. God sees breaking as the preparation for remaking. The breaking is never the end. It is the soil in which transformation begins. And when you understand that, you begin to see that what was meant to destroy you can actually be redefined by God as the very thing that launches you forward. Think for a moment about Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, imprisoned for crimes he never committed, forgotten by the people he helped. On the outside, his life was one long sequence of heartbreaks and betrayals. To the world, Joseph was simply broken, discarded, and overlooked. But from heaven's perspective, Joseph's brokenness was the setup for elevation. What looked like abandonment was actually God arranging him closer and closer to Pharaoh's throne, closer to his destiny, closer to the day when his family would bow before him and the famine-stricken nations would be fed through his wisdom. Your breaking might not look like Joseph's prison, but it has felt like confinement. It has felt like injustice. It has felt like being unseen or unheard, as though heaven turned its face away. Yet, the silence does not mean abandonment. The waiting does not mean rejection. The pain does not mean punishment. The breaking is often the hidden workshop of God's greatest rewrites. It's important to understand why the enemy fights you so hard in seasons of breaking. The enemy does not waste energy. He is not after the things in your life that hold no value. He attacks what threatens him. He attacks potential before it matures. He tries to break dreams before they bear fruit. He tries to suffocate callings before they gain strength. If you look at your life, you'll notice that the fiercest attacks have come in the areas where you are meant to be strongest. Those who are called to leadership are attacked in their confidence. Those who are called to build are attacked in their resources. Those who are called to love are attacked in relationships. Those who are called to dream are attacked in their imagination. The place of your greatest pain often points to the place of your greatest assignment. When you realize this, the attacks no longer feel random. They begin to make sense. The weight you've carried is proof of your worth. The pressure you've endured is proof of your potential. The very fact that the enemy tried to break you so viciously means there is something within you powerful enough to terrify hell. But here is where God begins to move differently than we expect. Because the enemy may have written a script for your life, one of destruction, despair, and defeat. But God does not read from the enemy's script. God takes the pen. And when God takes the pen, everything changes. God is the master author, the one who has been writing stories since the dawn of creation. He is not intimidated by what has been written against you. He is not startled by betrayal or loss or even sin. He is the God of rewrites. What the enemy meant for evil, God can and will use for good. What looked like a full stop can become a comma in His hands. What looked like death can become resurrection when He writes the final word. Think again of Joseph. Think of David, running from cave to cave, his destiny delayed for years as Saul hunted him like an animal. Think of Job, stripped of wealth, family, and health in a single breath. Their stories could have ended there. Their enemies thought they were finished. But God wrote a new chapter, and the new chapter was always greater than the last. That same principle is at work in your life right now. The pain that tried to define you is not your final definition. The rejection that scarred you is not your final identity. The failure that embarrassed you is not your final legacy. God has taken the pen, and He is rewriting. But why does it take so long? Why does God so often wait until the midnight hour, when hope has all but disappeared? Because the delay is strategic. When God moves too early, people can take the credit. But when God moves at the impossible hour, when there is no other explanation, His glory cannot be denied. The Red Sea did not part while Israel still had options. It parted when there was no way forward and no way back. Lazarus was not healed when he was sick. He was resurrected when he was dead. Gideon did not fight with an army of thousands. God stripped him down to 300, so the victory would be unmistakably divine. The delay you feel right now is not a rejection. It is not abandonment. It is divine strategy. God is aligning people, opportunities, resources, and timing in ways you cannot yet see. Heaven is moving pieces into place, even while you feel stuck. And when the appointed time comes, everything will converge in a way that leaves no doubt that it was God. Think of the job you lost, the door that slammed in your face, the relationship that ended so abruptly. You thought it was devastation, but it was redirection. God shut it down so you would not settle. He closed it so you would not compromise. He delayed it so you would not be distracted. The breaking was never about destruction. It was about making space for the rewrite. And here's where your partnership comes in. Because though God is the author, you are the one who must choose to hand him the pen. You can hold on to bitterness, anger, and despair, scribbling over the pages of your life with blame and regret. Or you can release it, surrendering the pen to God and saying, "Write, Lord. Rewrite what I cannot." This is not passive. This is active surrender. It is choosing to shift your perspective. Instead of crying out, "Why me?" begin asking, "God, what are you building in me?" Instead of saying, "This is the end," declare, "This is the beginning of something new." Instead of cursing the storm, look for the seeds God is planting in the rain. Living in God's rewrite means practicing faith when evidence is absent. It means protecting your heart and your circle, because not everyone is meant to witness your process. It means speaking life over your future, even when your present feels like death. It means searching for lessons in the loss and allowing those lessons to shape your wisdom, your wealth, your influence. So, how do you know when the rewrite is in motion? You know it when old doors begin to close, doors you once begged God to open, but that no longer serve your growth. You know it when unexpected opportunities surface, conversations you didn't plan, ideas that seem to come from nowhere, relationships that align too perfectly to be coincidence. You know it when your pain begins to birth passion. Suddenly, the wounds that once defined you now fuel your desire to help others. The betrayal that once crushed you becomes the empathy that allows you to heal others. The financial struggle that once shamed you becomes the wisdom that helps others find stability. And you know it when the heaviness you carried for years begins to lift, replaced by clarity about your calling. You start to see purpose where you once only saw pain. You start to feel momentum where you once only felt resistance. These are the signs that God has been rewriting your story in the background. The truth is, the enemy's greatest fear was never that you would be broken. His greatest fear was that you would rise from the break. Because when you rise from the break, you rise stronger. You rise wiser. You rise with testimony. You rise with authority. You rise with a story that others cannot ignore. The pen is in God's hands. The breaking was never the end. The rewrite is already in progress. Listen to me carefully. Your story is not over. What was meant to break you has no authority to define you. The pain you carried, the tears you cried, the nights you thought you would never survive, God is using every single one of them as ink for your rewrite. You are not standing in ruins. You are standing in the middle of a construction site, and the architect of heaven is rebuilding you stronger, wiser, and wealthier in spirit and in life than you have ever been. Don't quit now. Don't close the book early. The next chapter of your life is being written, and it will silence every doubt, overturn every lie, and prove every attack wrong. So walk boldly, stand firmly, believe fiercely, because God says, I am rewriting what was meant to break you, and when He finishes the story, it will be a masterpiece the world will never forget.